Hello and welcome to another video with KingTech Coding Clinic. And in this tutorial, I'm going to walk you through step by step how you can generate a payslip like this for your employees in Microsoft Excel VBA. Okay, you can equally use the same method to generate reports for your student. It's going to be very simple, straightforward. And fun. Now, let's quickly delve right into that. Now, welcome once again. Please, if this is the first time you're visiting this channel, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Press the bell icon so that I get notified anytime we upload new tutorials. Okay, now let's quickly delve right into that. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to generate a simple payslip report, or even more complex than this. I'll try as much as possible to explain every step, every line of code for you to understand how it works, so that even if you have a very large database, you can still manage to create your reports out of that. Okay, like I said, you can equally create student reports like this because I use it in one of my projects. If you need that project, that is a school management system project, I have the link in the video description below. You can just get that up and then use it for your school. Now let's quickly delve right into that. Now before we do that, let me just show you a quick demo that will just give you a clear overview of how this is actually done in Microsoft Excel VBA. So now let's open this demo file. Like I said, I'll leave all these files in the link in the video description below. You can just check them out. Now I have these two sheets here. That is sheet 1 and then sheet 2 here. The sheet 1 is my database where I have the data or the details of my student, and then the sheet 2 happens to be the reports template. Okay, so what I'm going to do is that with a click of a mouse, I would want to just generate reports or just move all these details from there to the various ranges. Okay, so now with Excel VBA, how do we do this? It's very simple. We're just going to write some few lines of code to just do that. Now let's quickly switch to developer tab. If you don't have the developer tab enabled, you can just go to file, then you come to options, then you come to Microsoft customize ribbon like this, and then you just move and make sure you have the developer checked. And then once it's checked, click on OK, and then you should be good to go. You should have the developer tab enabled, and then you can use it. Okay, so to open that up, you can just click on this and then you go to Visual Basic. So here we're going to create a very simple module. So we go to insert. This is just a quick demo to give you a clear picture of what we're going to do. So let's click on this module. Let's name it. Let's just name it to be report. Okay, something like that for short, report. Okay, now let's create a sub procedure here. We call it sub. So let's say sub, and then the name of the sub procedure, let's say generate. Okay, so generate. Don't give a space when naming this. You can just use underscore to close the space between them. So you can just generate report. That is the name of the sub procedure. So what I'm going to do is that, like I said, with just a click of a mouse, I would want to move all these details here. The name should be inside here. The class should be inside here in that order. Okay, but what I want you to know is that let's look at the following ranges for the sheet 2. That is the report sheet. We have the range here is B2, the range here is B3, the range here is B4, and then the range here is B5, and then the range here is also B6. So we're going to refer to these ranges and then map the data to this one, so that when we click on the mouse or the button, then you can just move this straight forward to here. Now let's switch back to our Visual Basic. So here what we are going to do is take note of the various sheets. The first sheet, which is the report, let me just name them so that we can have a clear picture of what is happening. So let's call this one database, and let's call this one report. Just name it report. Perfect. So now let's quickly go back to our back end here. So now you can see that we have the sheet 1 to be database and then sheet 2 to be the report. So what we are going to do is that we are going to just start with the sheet 2, that is the report. So let's say sheet 2 is this sheet 2 dot range. So what I'm saying is that sheet 2 dot range, which of the range am I referring to? I'm referring to this particular range here, B2. I'm going to refer to this range as well, and this range, and this range, and this range as well. So let's start with this one, dot range B2. You can see the range here is B2. Okay, sheet 2 dot range B2 dot value. Okay, the value of that range should be equal to should be coming from sheet 1 dot range. So let's look at the sheet 1. Sheet 1 is a database, and where is the name coming from? When you look at the B2 is going to hold the name of the student, B3 is going to hold the class of the student, and then B4 is going to hold the age, and then B5 the contact, and then B6 the email address, step by step like that. Now the name is coming from the database where it's found in the range B2. You can see column B, B2. Okay, so it should be coming from sheet 1 dot range also B2. Okay, dot value. Perfect. So once we are done with that, what we are doing here is that, let me just click inside here. Let me just select this here. Now look at this. You can see that for now we have nothing here. When I click on that, but inside that particular module that I created, you see that the name will just come here. Okay, let's look at that here. So let me be inside here and just click on this. So it's done. So when I come back here, you can see that we have the name here. So we want to have all those details. The class should also be here, the age should be here, the contact should be here, the email address should be here. So now let's clear this for now. Okay, so we are done. Let's quickly go back. So now we can just copy this, Control C to copy this, and then click here, then Control V to paste. Sorry, paste. I think we are done. We have the following. Let me just check this here from the okay, we have the following. We have the name, so this should be the name. Let's name this one name here. This should be the class, and then this should be for the age. We're just going to map them like that, and then this should be for the and then this should be for the contact. Okay, and the last one should be for the email address. Let's get it here. Perfect. So we are done with that. So now we need to edit this now. So let's maximize it. Now we need to edit this. So if the name is going to be in B2, and we have the same column, and all the column is still column B, all of them are B. So we have this B2, B3, B4, B5, B6. So let's come here and then edit that accordingly. So we have here to be B3, B4, B5, and then last one is B6. Okay, so now if we have the name coming from the sheet 1, which is the database sheet, the name coming from B2, and all of them is in the same row. Okay, all the data is just in a single row, and that is what the row A. Okay, like this. Sorry, that is the second row, that is the row 2. So we have B2, C2, D2, E2, and then the F2. Okay, so that is what we are going to edit this one as well too. So we have the first one B, so the second should be what C2, and here should be what D2, and then here we have E2, and then here we have F2. So what is going to happen now is that once we click on this, and then now we're not going to do that. Let's go ahead and then assign a button to that. Let's come here, and then let's go to Insert tab. Let's come to Insert Shapes. Let's grab this shape here, or let's get a different shape like this. Perfect. Let's draw a shape here like this. Let's format it. Let's give it a black color. Right click and then go to Edit Text. Okay, let's just name it Generate Report. Okay, perfect. So we are done with that. So once we're done, select this and then let's format it. Let's go to the Home tab and then select it. Select this. Let's change the font type to Times New Roman. Let's center it and then bring it in the middle. Let's bold it a bit, increase the font size and bold it. Generate report. So now let's go back to our codes and check barrel once again. Like I said, we are mapping all these details. This. We are bringing them live to here. With just a click of this button. Okay, so now let's come back here. Now let's right click on this, but we would want to give a simple message once we are done, so we can do that and say message box. Then we can put that inside the parentheses and give it something like this, say report. Okay, let's put it that way. Generated successfully, something like this. Okay, so you can close this and then comma. Let's give it VB information. So perfect. So we are done. So now once we are done with that, we can then go ahead and then assign this module to the button here. So right click on this and go to assign macros. So this is the name of the module we just created. So select it and click on OK. So now look at this. Once we click on this, the report will be generated, and then the data will be picked from here straight to here. So click on this, you can see it says what report generated successfully. And we have this very simple here and then straightforward. So now you can see that we are only able to create or generate report for just one person. Even if we have another data here in the second row, third row, it's not possible for us to do this. So now I decided for us to start with the simple and then we go to the complex. So this is the simplest way we can do that, but we are limited in the sense that we can only generate for just single person or single row. Now let's go to the complex side of the whole show. Let's close this or go ahead and save it. I'll leave the link in the video. You can just pick that up from there. Now coming to our main project here, we have three different sheets here. We have the payslip sheet here. So with the payslip sheets, by now I have this default data. Let me just clear that here. Just walk you through all these things and then see how you can implement this in your project. Okay, so we leave this and then clear this, we leave this, okay, we clear this, we clear that, we clear this, clear this, clear this, clear this. All right, by default, once we run our macros, all these things will be entered and get the payslip generated for each and every member. So what's going to happen is that you can choose to design your own template the way you want it. So I have the following details here that I'll be taking: the date, the staff ID, the name, the level, the grade, and then the date for whatever description that I'll give, maybe salary. And then if there is anything again, maybe arrears, I'll capture that here, but I didn't capture that in my database. You can choose to expand your project to see what you want to do. Then the payment amount will come here. So at the end of it all, I'll sum up all the payments here. You can see I have the sum function here, which will sum up all the payment for me. And then all the deductions will be captured in this particular column here. And then once I'm done here, I'll sum up all these things here too for me. So on doing that, then I'll have my net here where I'll be subtracting all the deductions from the total payment, total deduction from the total payment. That will give me my net salary. So that is the template. You can choose to design your own template the way you want it. Moving forward, we have the database made up of 5 employees. Okay, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then the various columns we have the full name, we have the staff ID, we have the grade, we have the level, we have the date, we have the region, we have the district, we have the SSF number, we have the designation, unit, payment date, description of the payment, payment amount, deductions date, description of the type, what type of deduction is it, and amount deducted, and a payment mode. So based on this, you can go ahead and look at your table or the database you have and then create or design your template to suit the database of your choice. Okay, so depending on the nature of your database, that is how you create your slip or your reports you would want to generate using the details inside of your database. Okay, so we also have this particular sheet here which holds where we can generate our report from here. So how does this work? Now once I click on this, I need to generate my report, but here we have an information here which says what, please click on browse folder path button to get the folder path before generating the report. So what it means is that I'll have to trigger this button and then choose my folder where I would want to export or maybe generate my reports into before I can go ahead and trigger this one. So let's do that from here. So I'll go to desktop and then grab a folder which is called payslip, then I'll click on OK. So with this now I can generate. So it's now generating my report. You can see from the top and bottom, you can see the progress bar at the bottom left corner here. You can see that. So once I click on done, there we go. So let's minimize this and then let's go to the payslip folder. So you can see that all the 5 employees have their reports generated or slips generated. So once you can see the details, or everything is here, salary, deductions, and everything is captured without any problem, without any damn stress. Now let's quickly go ahead and look at the details. How did we come about that? I'm going to walk you through step by step every single line of code for you to understand so that you can implement this in any of your projects. Okay, I use the same method in my school management system. You can check the video, you can check the link in the description below. You can grab that and then use it for your school. It's a very powerful tool there. So now let's quickly delve right into it. So to start with, let's look at the reports. I've already showed you what is happening here. This is my reports template. So you can go ahead and design your own template based on your database. So I've also walked you through the database that I have here. There's no problem here. So now let's come here and go back to the back end and see how it works. So what is going to happen here is that I've already showed you the validation. So without this, once you click on this, you'll be prompted to grab that folder path before you can generate report. Else you wouldn't know where the report is going to be generated into. So basically that is that. So moving forward, how did we come about this particular validation here? Okay, so let's go to the back end. Let's go to developer tab. If you don't have developer tab, just come to file here. You go to options here. You come to customize ribbon, and you just make sure you check the developer tab and click on OK. You should have it here. So when we come on there, once you click on this developer tab, you come to Visual Basic here. So we have this particular module, this one here, this here. We have the codes here. Okay, so this is called a sub procedure, and the name of the sub procedure is get folder path. So here what we are doing is dimensioning a variable. We say dim get path as string. Okay, and then with application dot, the application we are referring to as this is the workbook. Okay, we are talking of the workbook application. Dot file dialog box or dot file dialog. This is what we are referring to as the file dialog. This one here, this here. So we are calling it once we trigger this button here. So once we click on that, so we would want to get opportunity to pick a folder. Okay, folder path. If you want to pick a file, then it's going to be file picker. Okay, here inside this. So here we're going to pick a folder from here or something like that stuff. Okay. So once we click on this, you can then go ahead and pick a folder. So, but before we do that, let's quickly check certain things here. But before we do, we need to check some conditions. Before we can do it, we say if .show is not equal to 0. .show is not equal to 0 means that this particular button is actually clicked. For now, it is 0. So nothing is happening here. So the moment it becomes -1 or a particular value is generated, which probably is -1, which is not equal to 0, so from there we can go ahead and pick our folder. That is the validation we are seeing here. If .show, meaning that if the button is not actually clicked and then the dialog box is not open, meaning nothing is happening or nothing has happened. But once we click on that button, meaning this is not equal to 0, and for that matter the dialog box is open, so we can then go ahead and get a folder path. Selected items is equal to 1. So here when we click on this, we can only pick one item. You see, when I press and hold shift or control on the keyboard, I can select more than one. So that is what you see inside of the parenthesis. Sorry, inside of the parenthesis here. The selected items in the parameter or the parameter passed inside here is 1, meaning we can only pick one folder from the dialog box. Okay, so that is that. So once that is picked, let's check this here. So once we do that and pick that, consider the folder path is now displayed inside of this range E4. So that is what you see here, which says what? Once we pick that, where do we keep the folder path? It should be kept inside worksheets. Which of the worksheets? We have 3 worksheets. We have the database, we have the payslip, and we have the generate payslip. We are using the generate payslip dot range E4. The range E4 is this. So once you do that and select the folder path, display the folder path inside of this range. You can see the name of the range here, E4. So display it inside of that particular range, and that becomes the folder path. So that is that about this button here. Now the module that helps us create or generate reports or slips from our template here is what we are going to walk through now step by step. So let's quickly navigate to this particular module, which is what we call payslip PDF module. Double click to open it. So here too we have another sub procedure which is taking care of that straightforward. The name of the sub procedure is create payslip PDF. It's just a name, you can give it a name of your choice, but you make sure you follow the rules involved in naming variables. Okay, you don't leave spaces. So instead of me leaving space, I decided to use underscores to close that space. You can equally remove the underscores and make sure you combine the words like this, combine them, close them. So once we are done, the next line of action, we need to just make sure we do some validation here, which says what? If sheet 3. Now let me just explain something to you here for you to understand. You see this particular sheet, whenever you click, you create a sheet, you have a name of the sheet like sheet 1. Let me just drag this and put it here. Let me drag it and leave it here. The name of the sheet is sheet 1. Okay, this becomes the label. Now let me delete it. I don't need it. Okay, let me just delete it. But each and every sheet have their label and then their IDs. Now what we are seeing here is what we refer to as the labels of the sheet. We have the label payslip, the label database, and then the label generate payslip. So what's going to happen here is that when we go to the back end, you can see that sheet 1 is the payslip, sheet 2 is the database, sheet 3 is what? Generate payslip. So you can refer to the IDs or the labels. These ones are what we call the sheet IDs, and these ones are the labels. So here I'm not referring to the labels, I'm referring to what the ID. So I'm saying that if sheet 3, and that sheet 3 is what? The generate payslip sheet. If dot range E4, which is the range E4, this particular range, generate payslip, if this range E4 is equal to what? If that range is equal to empty string, meaning if it is empty, then tell the user that please click on browse folder path button to get the folder path before generating your report. This is just a VBA information. So let's walk through that and see what's going to happen. So for now, it's not empty, so we can generate report, but let's clear that. So once we click on this, and we have this pop-up telling us that particular message we just read over there. So once we are done, and make sure that, so with that prompt, the user will now go ahead and then browse to grab the folder path inside there, and then go ahead and generate slips. Okay, so once that validation is done, we can then move ahead and then check the next line of action here. What is happening here is that we are saying that application.display alert equal to false. On running the macros, we don't want any alerts to be displayed. Application.screen updating equal to false. Screen updating is when macros are running, a lot of things is happening in the background, but you see the sheet shift switching from one sheet to the other and the likes of that. That is what we refer to as screen updating. We don't want anything like that sort to happen. We would want the macros to run smoothly before you realize the work is done. That is what we are talking about. So to make sure of that, you have to switch off or turn off or set the screen updating to false. So once we are done with that, we move forward. Here we're just declaring variables here. We call dim DSH as worksheet, and then dim TSH as also worksheet, and then dim certain underscore SH as also worksheet. In programming, before you use a variable, you need to declare it, and more especially in VBA, before you use it, you have to first of all declare it. Then after declaration, you need to set it. Now this DSH, what am I referring to? What is it all about? So I'm going to set it to a particular worksheet. So the DSH is equal to this workbook.sheet. Which of the sheets we have the database sheet? So in place of database sheet, I can choose to use DSH. Anytime you see DSH, I'm referring to what? Database. And then we have the TSH. I'm setting that one to toward the payslip sheet. So anytime you see TSH, I'm referring to the payslip sheet. Then the last one, setting underscore SH is equal to what? Generate payslip. So anytime you see setting underscore SH, I'm referring to as what? The generate payslip sheet. Please, these names here, make sure if you're going to use them, make sure they are the same as what you have here. If you make mistake in typing them, or you leave any space where there is no space, or you close space where there is space, it will throw an error. So you make sure you grab exactly the same thing here. So ideally, to make sure of that, because since I normally create my sheet before going to the back end, what I do is double click here and then copy this, Control C to copy this. Then when I come here, I'll just come and paste it inside here, and then I'll make sure the spellings is what I've just copied from there, pasted inside here. So once we are done declaring and setting of our variables, the next line of action we need to check is what? Application.display status bar. We want it in a way that when the payslips are being generated, we want the status bar to show that, hey, 1 is generated out of 10, 2 generated out of 20, in that order. Okay, that is what we call the status bar. And before that, we first of all have to set it to what? An empty string, because at that moment nothing has started happening yet. So at this level, we haven't started generating. So why should we turn off, or why should we start displaying the status bar? So we set the value to be empty string. So once we are done with that, the next line of action here is that we need to dimension another variable here. We say what? Dim I as integer. This is a variable name. You can choose to change it to anything at all you want. And then we are naming a file name. The file name of our PDF we shall be generating is also going to be as also a string. Okay, so that's the name of the PDF file. So now, in the previous demo video that I showed you, you realize that we only generated for only one person. So here we have more than one person inside of our database. Here you can see it's up there. We have 5 people. You can have database made up of thousands and millions of members you want to generate pay slips for. Okay, so to do that, we need to look through each and every row and record and generate for each and every single person inside of the database. So now to do that, use a for loop to do that. Say for I equal to 2 to DSH.range column A. So what we are saying is that for I starting from the second row, this is the row 2, starting from this first person here to the last row. So it depends on the size of your database. If you have up to what? maybe 12 members, or maybe yes 10 members, you can have your last row to be here. So what we are doing here is we are checking for that. Say for I equal to 2 to DSH. The DSH is what? Our database sheet. Don't forget. Dot range A, that is the column A. Okay, application dot row count. So we want to start counting up to the last, from the first row, from the first person up to the last person. Okay, to do that. So once we are done with that, so from here we can then go ahead and start. It means that we want to start with what? Generating, or maybe yes, generating our slips. So there we can then go ahead. The application state, the status bar that we set to empty string here, we can now assign a value to it. So now here we are saying that application.status bar equal to I minus 1. So what is going to happen here is that the I is started from the first person. Okay, so when the first person is taken out, meaning done. So out of the total application.rows count.end Excel app, that will give us the total number of what? Details. So for now, you can see that here we have just 5 people, employees inside the database. So here, that is why I commented out here and I said display counting on the status bar in the form of 1 out of 6. So here, since our database hold base 5 members, let's make it 1 out of 5 instead of our comment. So what's going to happen here is that it will pick the first person, and then once that one is generated, then it's 1 out of the total. This A, the range A, and application.rows or counts gives us the total number of rows or record inside the database. So now we have 5. So it will be 1 here. All this will be 1. This is the slash out of the total number of what? Date records in the database, which is 5. So it will display, if the 1 is then generated, 1 out of 5. If the 2 is then generated, 2 out of 5, in that order until it's done. So this is where the magic happens, and that is what I showed you in the demo video. The demo video, we just pick the data from the database and then brought it straight back to the reports, and then that is it for only one person. So here we are looking to make sure that we generate slips for all the members in our large database you just saw over there. So what we are saying here is that TSH.range, the TSH here is our base slip. Don't forget of that. The TSH.range B8. Let's go to the base slip range B8 and see that the B8 holds the name. So the B8.range. Sorry, the B8.value, the value there should be coming from what? DSH. The DSH is the database sheet. And then the B, column B there is what? Is holding what? The database sheet. Column B is holding the name. So what we are doing is that we are picking this name from here and then mapping it here. Then we will go ahead and pick the staff ID from C and then map it towards on the payslip B7. So that is what is actually happening here. So we are picking them from the database and then mapping them to the payslip. So this side holds the database and this side holds the payslip. So when we pick this from here, or when we pick this and then we assign it to what is inside of our database, so you can see that the column D is holding the grade. So that's why I just commented out for you to see. This holds the full name, this line holds the full name, this line holds the staff ID, then this line holds the grade, and then this line holds the level in that order. So you can see that here we have BC and then an I. The I does the counting. The I is what loops. So the I means that the row at which it's being generated. So the I is dynamic, it changes as it moves. Okay, so it will do that and then map all of them. It will pick all these details from the database here and then map all of them straight to each and every range. The date is there, the income tax, the amount, payment, amount, the deduction, everything is there inside of the database. If you check, you realize that they are all there. When you pick the payment amount, this is 2,500 for the first person. Let's go to the database, the pay slip. You can see that we have 2,500 for the person here. Deduction 300 is also here. And then the sum, I will show you the function, the sum function, and then the calculation I made here. Okay, when you look at the payments mode, ADB is coming from here. Payments mode, check it out here. So that is how we just mapped them out from here, like that, in that order. Very simple and straightforward. So once we are done mapping them out here like that, so depending on the size of your database and then the structure or the nature of your slip or reports, it determines the number of codes you're going to, the lines of codes you're going to write to be able to get what you want. So now once we are done mapping them out, now we need to create our file now. So every file must have a name, right? So we've already initialized or declare a file name as string. So we are not going to use the file name here. So we're saying that the file name for the person that the file is being generated for, the name of the file should be unique, right? So the file name is coming from DSH, the database.range B. The file name is going to hold the name of the employee. So if you see the column B holds the name. So each and every member is going to have their file coming with their names, and not only the names. Let's go back here. Not only the names, then we are concatenating the names to what? You can have more than one person here, or maybe you can have 2 or 3 or 4 people in this same database here having the same name. You can have John Doe here, John Doe here, John Doe here. So having their names like that, you can't just generate the slips bearing only the name. We need to concatenate it with something. So we are concatenating it to see that is their staff ID. If the names are not unique, then ideally staff ID should be unique to differentiate between them. Okay, so that is what we've just done here. So we are concatenating the name which is in column A to the staff ID which is in column C. And we are not even ending there. We are adding something to it. We are adding the record in the column H, which is what? The district. So the file name is going to be, this is the column H district here. Is it here? So the file name is going to be the name of the person, the staff ID, and then the district. Okay, so basically that is how the file name is going to be. So once we are done creating the file name, now we need to, and then the dot PDF. Since we are generating into the PDF, the extension is going to be what? Dot PDF. Now the TSH dot export. Now what is the TSH? The TSH is the pay slip. Okay, the pay slip sheet. So we are not going to export it into a fixed format. So we are saying what? TSH dot export as fixed format, and then the Excel type is PDF, then comma. So once we are done with that, now where is the exporting going to be done? It's going to be done inside this workbook.sheets. Which of the sheets? The sheet called generate payslip. This particular sheet is going to be done here. Okay, generate payslip. So inside this, the range E4. Once it's done generating, or is done generated, where is it going to, or what are you going to consider before generating? We're going to consider the range here, and the range here is going to give us the what? Let me go and clear this now. Minimize this. Let's clear this so that we can generate new one after that. The range is going to hold the folder path. So once we click on this, then we grab the folder path. There we go. So before you generate, determine that folder path, and then you get the value inside the E4. Then the value there, that is the folder path slash. So once it is inside that folder path slash, it should come with what? The file name. And the file name is what we've already assigned here. Okay, that is that. So it will come inside that particular folder where we've generated the folder path inside the E4 to be deposited inside that folder with the file name we've given. So once that is done, say next I, the loop, the for loop ends here. This will keep repeating until each and every employee's pay slip is generated. So once that happens, so it means we are done. We would want to set application.status bar back to empty string, meaning we are done generating. So it will come back to empty string, and then from there we display a message box to the user and say message box done. So we can just make it VB information, something like this. So perfect. So once we are done generating, it will give us an information and say message box done. Okay, so now let's work around that and see. So basically that is how the system is generated. So now once we click on this, so you can see from the bottom left here, you can see that it's been generated. So once we are done, it says what? Done. So click on OK. Now when we visit our folder now and then open this, and then once you open this now, you have for the first person everything is intact. You have for the second person everything is intact. You have for the third person everything is intact. So you can see that the files come with their names. We have Aziz Fatim, and then the staff ID and the district. All of them are coming from Beja as a district. So you can see that the files just been generated with their name, staff ID, as well as the district. So it depends on how you want to use it. Like I said, I use this in my school management system project. I have the link in the video description below. You can just grab that school management system and use it for your school. It's a very, very powerful tool over there. So you can also implement. I use this in generating the report inside of the school management system. So those who would want to learn how to create that school management system, you can join the class. It's a master class. You can just check the link and then join the class, and then you learn how to do that. So from there, and those who have already taken part and you want to manipulate or change the nature of your report, the student reports, this is how the student report is generated. You can take your time and go through each and every line of code and see how you can edit it to suit your needs. Thank you so much for watching. Please, if you like this video, don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe to the channel so that we can create more content like this for you, because this is what we do. Don't forget to also comment, like, and share. Thank you so much. Till our next tutorials. Bye.